A federal judge blocked President Trump's order restricting birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship means if you're born on U.S. soil, you automatically become a citizen, no matter the status of your parents. I'm Scripps News' Holly Furfer, and you're watching On the Scene. All right, so let's get right to Scripps News legal affairs correspondent Avajoy Burnett, who's live in our D.C. newsroom. And Avajoy, so give us more detail on why this judge is blocking the Trump administration from enforcing its birthright citizenship executive order.
Hey there, Holly. Well, this is a judge who is based in New Hampshire, and this hearing started at 9 this morning, and we got an order very quickly. And in that one-page order, this judge said this executive order, if it were to be enforced as is right now without going through the court system, would likely cause, quote, irreparable harm, meaning that any of those babies who are born to undocumented migrants here in the United States could face damages that are irreversible, especially if they're deported from the United States or if they're rendered stateless and don't know if they're U.S. citizens or what countries they are citizens of, pretty much. So this is a ruling that is now coming in from this federal district court judge in New Hampshire. And remember, on day number one, it was one of the top priorities for President Trump along with his administration. He signed this executive order on birthright citizenship, which would prohibit the babies who are born to undocumented migrants from automatically becoming United States citizens. This is a case that made it all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. There were lawsuits automatically in several states, and then it made it all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. But what we're now seeing with this particular matter is this judge in New Hampshire, he has agreed to certify what is known as a class of people. It's a big group of people who could be shielded from any particular damage if this executive order is implemented. So number one, today he certified that class. Even if you're not directly named on the lawsuit, you could possibly benefit from any action that comes after this moves its way through the court system. And then number two, he's blocked the administration from enforcing this executive order until this case moves its way through the court system, through the federal court system. So this is a really big win for all of those advocacy groups and mothers and really parents who have babies who are born in the United States who they thought would automatically become United States citizens. And then once the executive order was announced back in January, they figured their kids would be in limbo because they didn't know exactly what would be happening to the citizenship status of their children. So that's the breaking news that is coming out of New Hampshire today. This judge is now certifying a class of tens of thousands, if not millions, of babies who are born in the United States in this period of uncertainty. And then they're also blocking the Trump administration from enforcing this executive order until everything works its way and gets a conclusion from the court system, Holly.
And Avajoy, so how is this related to the Supreme Court decision from late last month, I guess, when you're talking about class action?
Yeah, it's directly related to that Supreme Court decision from late last month. It was the birthright citizenship case, really the biggest case of the term. And as I mentioned, when President Trump signed that executive order, there were automatically lawsuits. In those lawsuits, in at least 3 separate states, judges blocked the Trump administration from actually enforcing this executive order. But what the Trump administration did was they went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court and asked the U.S. Supreme Court to rule not on the issue of the legality of birthright citizenship, but whether these lower court judges have the authority to block action from the White House, to block action from the executive branch. And late last month, the U.S. Supreme Court determined that these lower court judges likely overstepped their authority, but the Supreme Court did not rule on the legality of that particular executive order. They just talked about if these lower court judges maybe overstepped their authority and blocking what the president wanted to accomplish. And so this is why this is directly related to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court gave these lower courts 30 days to take action before the executive branch would be able to implement this executive order. And that is why we're now seeing this quick action in the lower federal courts.
All right, Scripps News legal affairs correspondent Avajoy Burnett live for us in D.C. Thank you for your analysis on all of that.